Welcome to this new lecture, your Arctic policy. So what is Arctic policy? We will see in this lecture, and I have already uploaded the video on your Antarctic expeditions that India has done, and India has already set up 2 research center in that Antarctic region. Okay, so what is the benefit of Arctic? So why all the scientists wants to go to those polar areas? So it is like the research used to be taken on those polar areas, because whatever the climate effects is going to be taken is going to be happen due to our pollutions and all. So those impact are clearly seen in those polar regions as the ice melt, your sea level rises. So what are all the scenarios and the researches are going on according to the flora fauna? What are the flora fauna present over there? What are the changes that is going to happen to the flora and fauna in the last few years? So those things need to be taken care. And further, there are some minerals and resources, important minerals and resources are present there, so all the countries have a clear attention to that zone. So all those things we will see in this lecture. Further, moving ahead to this lecture, I will request you to please go through this lecture till the end, so that you will have a complete picture of it. And I request you to please subscribe this channel, because this is a new channel. I really need your support. So it is like, see, polar zone is an area I have already explained in that Arctic region. I will explain it again here. See, there is something called a term albedo. Albedo is a term that denotes the refraction, that is how much reflective that surface is. Let us suppose there is a mirror, your sun rays fall, and is your mirror reflected 100% of it, 100% rays of it. It means what? That mirror has a very high albedo. Okay, similarly in that case, ice have a very high albedo. So when we used to go to the skating, when we used to see skaters and all on those icy areas, you will see they used to wear one different kind of specs. So that specs is used to protect their eyes from that reflecting sun rays. Okay, so that's what the ice albedo is very high. Okay, and when the climate temperature used to raise, it is because of only the carbon content that we are producing through our vehicles and the industries that gets accumulated in our weather, in our atmospheric zone. And when the rainfalls happen in the polar zones and all, your carbon content also fall down on those areas, and it get settled on the upper part of your ice. Okay, so these carbon particles will be settled on the upper part of the ice. Now what will happen when this black part is settled on the ice? Now, as we know, black surface absorbs all the light. So when the sun rays will fall into that area, it will what? This black part will absorb all the sun rays, and ultimately the temperature of this ice will increase, and ultimately this ice will start to melt down. Okay, and when this melting of the ice will happen, ultimately your sea level will rise, and this is a matter of concern. Okay, so that kind of research used to be taken place. Now another kind of research will be like, there is something of flora and the fauna. So that is the trees and the animals present over the regions. So what type of animals are going to be extinct? Why those animals are going to be extinct? What are the reasons behind it? What are the vulnerability of that animal is going to that particular sector? What is why this particular trees are going to be in the stage of vulnerability? So those things are going to be researched upon. And further, there are some minerals present over there, and those minerals are important minerals. So like petroleums are there, fuels are present there. So that kind of exploitations is also one of the motive of the another country for that region. So that's why Russia wants to claim over that regions, because most of the part is touched by Russia only for your Arctic zone. China is also showing the interest for that region as well. And further, it has been allowed that the sea route, as the ice has started to melt, due to the melting of the ice, what happened? Now there is no ice there. Ice is there, but floating ice is there. So now, due to water presence over there, ships are able to travel from that region. So ultimately, people that the expeditions, the traveling of one region to another regions are happening very easily in that area. Okay, so those things we will see in this lecture as well. I have already told you in this as an introduction part of it. So among the other things, the policy commits to expand scientific research, sustainable tourism, and mineral oil and gas exploration in the Arctic region. So one point you have to mention, that in that Arctic region, whatever the exploitation is going to be taken place, the one term is completely attached with it, that is something called your sustainable. So that ship, as I said in the earlier, that ship are also allowed to go from one region to another, but the only thing that you have to follow sustainable manner. You can't hamper the environment and all. So there is no claim of any country right now, as per the policy, there is no claim for any country, but you can't harm, and without harming the environment you can go from one region to the another. Okay, so other objectives of the policy include, that is putting in place Arctic related programs for mineral oil and gas exploration in Petroleum Research Institute. So it is like as minerals and oil gas present is too much in that region, so thus there is a need of clear mandate, like what are the policy, in what way you are going to exploit that region in the sustainable manner, what are the sustainable practice that we have to follow. Those kind of things are the other objective that will put into this included into this policy. Further, the other policy is to encourage the tourism and the hospitality sectors in building specialized capacities, awareness to engage with the Arctic enterprises. So ultimately another motive is to increase the financial activity in that region by encouraging the tourism and all. So there are many things present over the region. So if you ask like how the petroleum content or the oil and gas content is present in that polar region, so that thing I have explained in the geography lecture, where we have seen that your continent were completely attached millions of years ago, and at that time the land that you are seeing at the polar zones were at our equator, and later after the few of the movements of the plates and all, those lands shifted to your polar zones, and now we are seeing that petroleum contents into that region. Okay, so this is just a exclusion part of this topic. I have explained to the geography lecture series, you can go through it as well. Okay, now India expects Goa-based National Center for Polar and Ocean Research, that I've already explained in your Antarctic lecture. You can go through it. So India expects Goa-based National Center, that is NCPOR, to lead the scientific research and act as a nodal body to coordinate among various scientific bodies to promote domestic scientific research capacities by expanding earth sciences, biological sciences, geosciences, climate change and space related programs dovetailed with the Arctic implications in Indian universities as well. So right now these things are already taken for the Antarctic zone, but for the Arctic zone also there is a demand for the that is your NCPOR to take care for the research and all for the Arctic zone. So the National Center for Polar and Ocean Research is an important research and development institution under the Ministry of Earth Sciences. So it includes the research that is carried by your NCPOR, that is already taken by your Antarctic zone. For this, the research that they used to take upon, it conducts the research in polar and Antarctic Ocean, southern and austral realms. It is around 2500 km from the North Pole when the first wave Dakshinotri was prepared. So it was previously known as the National Center for Antarctic and the Ocean Research, NCAOR. Now it has been renamed as the NCPOR, National Center for Ocean and National Polar and Ocean Research. It was established as an autonomous research and development body in 1998, and it was located in Goa, and it used to control all those Antarctic research and all. Right now the demand is going to be that this institution should take care for the Arctic zone also. So it is a nodal agency for coordinating and implementing India's Antarctic program. It also maintains India's permanent stations in the Antarctic, that are Maitri and the Bharti, and earlier was again that Dakshinotri was removed due to like it was submerged in the ice melting. I have explained in that lecture. So Maitri and the Bharti, right now we have two stations. It was established around 2012 or 13, and it was the 9th country which have a two research stations in that Antarctic zone, and it is being controlled, but it was being done by the NCPR, and recently it is the 40th expeditions that have been done by the India. Okay, so it also maintains India's permanent stations in the Antarctic, Maitri and the Bharati, and also the research base in the Arctic Himadri zones. Okay, now we will see significance of it. So the document for this Arctic policy notes that the Arctic research will help in India's scientific community to study the melting rates of the Himalayan glaciers. Why? Because Arctic zone is your northern hemisphere, and your Himalaya is also in northern hemisphere. So that's why it is expected that the study of your northern hemisphere will give glimpse of your Himalayan glaciers. See, Himalayan, this is your India and this is your Himalayan. So Himalaya was not part of Indian peninsula. Now Indian peninsula is shifting forward, and Nepal and that your Russian land is going downward. So that's what Himalaya. So Himalaya is a part of the northern hemisphere also in the millions of years ago also, if those part below the peninsula part was in the northern hemisphere. Okay, so that's what it is expected that if we study from the Arctic zone, we will be able to study the melting rates of the Himalayan glaciers as well, which are endowed with the largest freshwater reserves in the world outside the geographic poles. Okay, now if you see this map, you will observe that there is some part of Canada here, USA is also involved here, but the major portion of the regions in that your Arctic zone is your Russia have a major portion in that area. So that's what Russia is used to show its authority for that region, for the exploitations of the petroleum and the fuels for that regions. Okay, and there are some union countries involvement. What are the countries in this policies, we will see as a member for it. Okay, so right now it is like the movement of ships and all is allowed, movement of ships and everything is allowed, that where ice has been melted. It's not completely melted, but it is floating ice. So now the movement of ships have been allowed in a sustainable manner. So what is this in this slide, we will see. So the Arctic region is rich in minerals and oils, and the council does not restrict, mention that word, it is very important line, council, this Arctic council does not restrict any other country, it does not restrict any country to exploit the Arctic resources. Only the condition is that only if you are not going to harm the environment, it should be in sustainable manner. So if it is in sustainable manner, all the countries are open to go and exploit that region, but it should be sustainable manner, environment should not be impacted. That is the condition. That is a very important point. Another reason for countries getting involved in investing the Arctic region is the melting ice due to global warming, which is opening up shipping routes for easy trade. India, being one of the observers, has also started their expeditions in the Arctic area that I have explained right now. For this zone, ships are allowed to move for the trades and all. Tourism sector is also being promoted. So financial, they want to improve the financial sector of that region, and further exploitations is open for all the countries until and unless you are not going to exploit the harm the environment. India had launched its first scientific expedition to the Arctic Ocean in 2007 to carry out research in glaciology, atmospheric sciences and biological sciences. A research base was set up at International Arctic Research Base at Nelson, Svalbard, Norway in July 2008, and it was named as Himadri. Okay, it is just a point of just remember, it is a point of information, that's it. The Ministry of Earth Sciences had renamed the National Center for Antarctic and the Ocean Research to the National Center of Polar and Oceanic Research in 2018, and this body is responsible for research activities at the stations of the pole. Now it has been given the authority to, for any research activities if happen in the pole, you will be authorized for do it. Now earlier it was handling for the Antarctic, now it will handle completely for the Arctic zone as well. Okay, so what are the other important objectives of the Arctic expeditions by India? So India's reason for Arctic expeditions are both environmental and scientific as well. So they want to understand what will the environment impact, what is the pollution that we are throwing, what is the impact of that on the polar zones, what will impact on the ice. So if you see, India has also signed its Paris Agreement by 2030 to move towards your renewable source of energy, and India is doing very well for the achievement of the Paris Agreement as well. And further, for the scientific research, like what are the reasons behind what is the melting rate for the Himalayan belt and all, so those things kind of being researched is another motive, another objective for the India. So analysis of the sediment and the ice core records from the Arctic glaciers and the Arctic region. So they want to analyze what are the sediments and ice are present over the Arctic glaciers, from which regions, whether that parts were present in the equator or not, like, because if the petroleum is present, so for formation of the petroleum and fuel, there is a need of high pressure for that region, for plants and animal fossil fuel should be there, high pressure should be there, then ultimately those things will be converted into petroleum. But for the Arctic region, there is not so much evergreen kind of forest you will see. So how this petroleum came to that region? So it means that that part will be somehow, it will be near to the equator, that will have a long, millions of years back, will have evergreen forest. So that kind of research will be taken place for the Arctic Ocean. That are kind of one of the branch to a study for the Arctic region. Characterizations of the sea ice in the Arctic using satellite data to analyze its effects on global warming. Through the satellite also you'll analyze and study the global warming effect to that region. Analysis of the flora and fauna of the Arctic region, types of animals, plants present there, what are the historical data for the plants, what are the animals going to extinct, what are the are vulnerable to the environment, and kind of things will be researched upon. To conduct research based on hypothesized teleconnections between the Arctic climate and the Indian monsoon. So they will connect all those studies with our Indian monsoon as well. So what is this Arctic Council? So the first step towards the formation of the council occurred in year 1991, when the 8 Arctic countries signed the Arctic Environment Protection Strategies. And what were the 8 countries? We will see the Ottawa Declarations happened, establishing the Arctic Council as a forum for promoting cooperation, coordination, interaction among the Arctic states. And further, we as Asian country, we are the countries that is far from the polar zones also are invited as an observer state for doing the research and as well. Okay, so with the involvement of the Arctic indigenous community and the other Arctic inhabitants on issues such as sustainable development and the environment protection. So ultimate aim is for the environment protections only. Further, the countries like India, which does not have any significance, we do not have any contact to the polar zones, but we are allowed to do the research and all. So that kind of things are declarations has been with these declarations have been done to protect the environment, because everyone through the country is connected as a global warming. The chairmanship of the Arctic Council rotates every 2 years among the Arctic states. The first country to chair the Arctic Council was Canada. In the 1996 to 1998 it chaired that Arctic Council. Arctic Council Secretariat formally became the operational in 2013 in the Norway. That was just a point of information to know. And one more thing that you have to know, when was the Arctic Council formed? I have already pointed in the previous slide. Here also it is mentioned. The Arctic Council was created by the signing of the Ottawa Declaration on 19 September 1996 in Canada. India got the observation status at Kirunal Ministerial Meeting in the 2013. And what are the Arctic states? As per the Ottawa Declaration, the following 8 countries from the Arctic states: Canada, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, Russia, Sweden, and United States. This line is not very important. Just for the sake of remembering the information, you can go through it. Okay. So this was all about in the Arctic lecture. You can go through your Antarctic in Antarctic expeditions and all. I think you have understand this lecture. Please like and subscribe. Your subscription is a form of payment for me. Please, this is new channel. I really need your support. If you want any on-demand video lecture, please feel free to contact me on my Twitter handle. Thank you.